cereal I felt when, like, short of, I wouldn't say short of breath, I felt like I couldn't catch my breath. And that's a scary feeling because you don't know, like, I don't have anxiety. And so you're like, do I have anxiety or do I have shortness of breath? I couldn't sleep that night. So then I went to City MD. I don't know what I expected from City MD. I think I just expected reassurance.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure, like, my oxygen level wasn't low, if I wasn't getting like a pneumonia. And so my pulse ox, when I got to City MD, it was 90. And I was like, wait a minute, come up. And then it went up to the normal range. But they tested me, and I was shocked because I was told from my job that, like, you won't get tested if you have symptoms. It's assumed you have COVID, so you don't need to get tested. And City MD was like, oh, you're an emergency department nurse. Oh, you're going to get tested. I didn't get the test to know that I had it. I knew I had it, but it came back positive. But the twist of when I was sick, my mother was also sick. So I was more so worried about her than I was for myself. Whenever friends were like, do you need anything? I was like, oh, get me an incentive spirometer. I need a pulse ox. And I would, because all over the news, you're here, not only in the news, even at work, you're seeing people like in their 60s getting sick, getting intubated. And I was like, my mother, who I never saw sick before, was in bed for 4 days. So it's scary to be a nurse, be a daughter, see your mother suffering. I get winded just by brushing my teeth, so I can't even do much. So definitely scary, but I made it, and I'm here.
I hear you. Can you explain a little bit to the people what the incentive spirometer was and the point of having the pulse ox?
So the incentive spirometer is used to kind of expand your lungs, and I wanted to give that to my mother just so that because she was in bed. And the dangerous thing about COVID, it leads to pneumonia. So I didn't want my mother to get pneumonia. That's where, like, all the complications happen from. And the pulse ox kind of it shows your oxygen saturation. And a lot of times with COVID patients, you can talk and look well, but your pulse ox, which usually should be over 90, can be as low as like 70s and 60s. So I wanted to make sure she was not touching those numbers as well. But thankfully she got better before I did. So
thanking God for that. I'm glad you guys are in good health on the other side of it, for sure. Just to update people that are just joining us, we have the amazing Tati Duplessis. Is that correct?
You got it.
Duplessis. Yeah, you see, you get Haiti's in the building, Brooklyn's in the building, repping right now. And she's just updating her on her experience as a nurse in New York City, because it's very different as a physician. So I always want us to get other people's perspective on everything that's going on, telling us how great it was. She did have coronavirus, so did her mom, but they're doing well right now, which is excellent. Right? So what do you think is going to happen in the future? What do you think is going to happen from now on? And what advice would you give to other people that are here in the minority community from what you've seen?
Stay home. Stay home. It's tough. Like, you've been home for a month now, and I get it. Try to kind of stay away from CNN and the news. I know when I was home, I started to feel a little bit anxious after watching the news, and I would only limit myself to maybe an hour. But all you hear on the news is you're going to die. You're going to get COVID. You're going to go to the hospital. You're going to die. And, people are being discharged from hospitals. People are being extubated. So it's not as scary as it may seem on the news, but it's trending down, but to keep it down, we have to stay home and wash your hands, using masks correctly. It's not only just wearing a mask, but making sure you use it correctly, and just wash your hands. But like, just don't get too caught up in all the, because it could give you anxiety just listening to the news, listening to the newspaper, hearing about all these deaths. It definitely could be scary.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the testing thing you had mentioned before, is there a central location people can go to in New York or urgent care you've been sending your patients to get tested?
So they're opening up testing sites now. I think 2 just opened up in Brooklyn. They're starting to open up testing sites. Urgent care, in my opinion, I think, you know, if you're concerned, you should go to, I think 311 or New York City Gov in New York City. There's like testing sites that you can go in your car. You can just like drive through and go there. You can also go to urgent cares. Don't go to the emergency room because we're not going to test you.
It's true.
We're definitely not going to test you. But I think urgent cares and the those drive centers, they bring it back. They bring the results back a lot quicker than the urgent cares, because I got my result back 9 days after I took it. And if someone who is, you know, that's asymptomatic and they're going around, that's 9 days of them going around, like not knowing if they have COVID or not. So NewYorkCity.gov, that's where you should go. Thanks, Chanel.
Thank you. That's definitely appreciated to the New York Massive that's out there right now. And then more so, you're talking about testing. You did get tested. How fast did you return back to work? Like, you felt better than you had to expect it to be there the next day? Was your employer comfortable with you coming back within a certain amount of time, or did you have to quarantine yourself?
So the Department of Health requires me to quarantine myself for 7 days. And then on the 3rd day without fever, I am expected to go back to work. So I went back to work. I thought I was ready. I probably shouldn't have gone back to work that day. I definitely didn't realize that I wasn't breathing as I wasn't breathing as normal as like I usually do. But I went back to work maybe for my 5th day without a fever. I went back to work.
Got it. So you guys were kind of put right back into it.
No, they're like,
as soon as it's needed.
As soon, and that's the scary part, because I was out and a lot of my coworkers were out. So we're taking care of you guys, and we are also getting sick. And everyone can't, quarantine. They tell you quarantine, but this is New York City. Rent is ridiculous. And people have roommates, people have, they live with their loved ones. So we're sent home to quarantine, but we're also infecting the house that we're in. So sucks.
Yeah, and it seems like PPEs, as I said, is kind of an issue all over the city. In my shop, we're reusing N95 masks all the time. I went out and bought my own big mask filter. I'm not playing games out here. I have to for myself. But have you been reusing your N95 masks? Have you had to keep them for a while or use them in a way that they're not supposed to be used?
We're all using it the way it's not supposed to be used. We're supposed theoretically not. We're supposed to take off an N95 and dispose it after each patient use, and we're using it all day. That alone isn't right, but we've been getting a lot of donations. So thankfully we haven't run out of N95s, but I am expected to wear the same N95 all day. Face shields, like we all kind of have our own face shields, but we do have face shields. Gowns was an issue before, but we're starting to get gowns. People are so creative. So we have a bunch of different people making things. We have, we've been getting a good amount of supplies, but we are also expected to wear the same gown all day. So, these are the things that kind of predispose us to getting sick, because we're just walking around with Rona all day. So, so that is, but we don't have to, I know some places they're putting it in plastic bags, putting it in paper bags and wearing it again the next day. We don't have that issue where I work.
Got it. Yeah, I know in some institutions, especially moving in Brooklyn, PPE is a huge issue. So to plug this fundraiser we're doing at STOOP55, you guys see the link that's actually pinned there. We're actually raising money, $1,000 to create PPE in conjunction with the DOT. She'll come on a little bit later on, Brenda. And we're trying to raise money to build PPE to donate to Brooklyn Hospital. So if you guys can contribute anything, 10 cents, 5 cents, $10, $5, anything, it'll be greatly appreciated and your money will be well worth it. Now, moving along, as a nurse without PPE, continuously putting yourself at risk, I understand that some healthcare providers, even around the world, in the country, in New York City, have died because of this. How do you deal with the mental stress, mental, physical, spiritual stress that you're going through on a day-to-day? I try to keep in touch with my friends and my family, but everyone has their own thing. What have you been doing?
Same thing, keeping in touch with my friends. Thankfully, I have a good support system. So, and a good amount of my friends are also in healthcare. So everyone that's not in healthcare are like, they're avoiding us like the plague. But thankfully, I have like my best friend's a nurse, my coworkers, we get to hang out. And the sad thing is being in the emergency department, we deal with stress all the time. Yeah. And usually go out to drink. You and I have gone out to drink together many times. We do just to kind of decompress.
Just a little bit.
But a lot of the things we do to decompress are now closed. So it is stressful. But thankfully, hang out with friends. I talk on the phone, binge watch. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are isolated. A lot of people they're isolated from their families because they have, immunocompromised people in their homes. They're isolated from their friends, and it's tough taking care of COVID patients and dealing with that internally. So thankfully my job has like a lot of mental health providers that have, they're doing telehealth. That 7 o'clock chant in the city is very inspiring. That really picks up your energy. Seeing everyone walking down the street and having people thank you. And this is New York City. People look at you.
You're right.
What are you looking at? So the idea that people are like, thank you so much for your help, all the free food, all the free gifts, it is uplifting. It does make you feel better, for sure.
That's cool. I'm glad you have it. So what have you been doing? What have you been watching? Tell the people how they should be hanging out.
I've been watching A Handmaid's Tale, and that's creepy.
Yeah, that's dark, son.
Creepy. Because they're locked up, and I felt like I was locked up, and I was like, I can't watch this anymore. I watch All American, catch up on my Ratchet TV. So yeah, it's.
Oh, please do tell Ratchet TV, please.
Love and Hip Hop. Come on, Love and Hip Hop. Miami. So Atlanta's going on now. It's watching Love and Hip Hop really does help because you go to work and you're thinking all the time, and you're like, in the ER, and especially as a charge nurse. I'm not only in charge of nurses, I'm in charge of providers. I'm like managing the flow. I'm watching so many different things. So sometimes it's nice to just de-stress and watch nonsense.
Yeah, I see that. I've been watching I've been on Ozark recently. What else? Everybody watch Tiger King. It's trash, but it's entertaining trash. Something about it. I need it just to unwind on the other side of it. So just as you were saying, I find it really stressful when I have to talk to patients, especially because nobody can visit them, right? I've had too many conversations with family members about how poorly their loved one was doing, being that they're intubated or being that, they might die. Have you ever had to go through any of those conversations? And if so, walk us through how that was.
It's tough to see family members in the waiting room, and they just want to know what's going on. And sometimes they can be very assertive, and you'll never understand how that feels unless you're on that, you're in their shoes. When you have a loved one in the hospital, and the idea that you can't see them, it's frustrating. No one's going to advocate for you more than your family. No nurse is going to advocate for you more than your family. So it's tough to see people kind of declining, and the doctors want to put a tube in them, but they want to speak to the family, and the family is like going through FaceTime and they're praying, and it's like, oh, I just want to sneak you in so you can just hold your loved one hand, because you don't know when you're going to see them again. That's that's really hard to see. It sucks to see people that are sick, and now we have iPads, but before we didn't have iPads. So if you didn't have, you know, a lot of the elderly, they have cell phones that are like flip phones. So their family can't see them, and when they start to become a little bit more altered, they don't really, they don't know whose number to call, you know, so it hurts. And you'll have family members that are being redirected to so many different people. And it's tough to see. That's the best way to describe it, because I know how it feels to be in their shoes, and the idea that, you know, I can bring my loved one in, but I won't be able to see them. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it is. I find it really hard, and I'm glad because my institution has brought up mental health services for providers. Do you have that for you as well?
Yeah, we have a telehealth person that we can call. And I see it. I see some of my coworkers that are crashing. I definitely see them, and they're a lot more burnt out. And, you know, one nurse today, like, flipped out for no reason. And he's like, you know what, I haven't seen my family in a month and a half. And that makes sense. You know, as I said, we're dealing with these patients, and we're also dealing with the things we have internally. We're dealing with not seeing our family members. We're dealing with being isolated. So it sucks. It's tough to manage the two. And, you know, we come to work and we try our best, but sometimes you don't know what's going on. I mean, everyone has been affected by COVID, whether you have a loved one that got sick from COVID, you have someone that you know that has passed away from COVID, and we're all just coming into work dealing with that. I think mental health in the Black community is a little bit taboo. You know,
speak on it.
You know, I'm ready.
Speak on it.
You know, we're told, you know, just pray on it. That's what they often, like, our parents always tell us, oh, just go to church. But you can't go to church because church is closed. So, like, you could Zoom all you want, you know, but we can't go to church. And but for the African American community, just I like the telehealth aspect, because then you don't feel like you can do it on your own personal time, and you don't have to go into an office, because sometimes the idea of just going to an office is like, whoa, I'm not crazy. But going through these times, I mean, everyone's affected. People that are home, the idea of staying in their apartment for a month, that's a lot too. So I think we all need a little mental health. We all need like a mental health provider around. Luckily, we have that. Other people don't. But I am happy that the hospital has offered that. I have not used it yet. I think I just found out about it. I just found the number, but I do plan on using it.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of the stigma that's associated with mental health, right? Especially in the Black community. If you go to see somebody, you're crazy, you're cuckoo, you're a quack, or something along those lines. And that should never be the case to begin with. But especially now, because that's making people making people less likely to go seek help in the first place, you know? I think for what we see in the hospital, in the emergency room, we see a lot of death continuously. And that's not natural. It's not natural, no matter how we may compartmentalize it. That's not natural at all. And I think other people, whether they're dealing with death or dealing with their loved one being sick, being friends with sick, they don't have their normal release valves to take care of this pressure that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So definitely I agree with you on that, and something we have to reiterate to all the people out there that this is going on, it's natural to have it, and it's okay to seek help to begin with.
Yes, for sure.
I still want to have, sorry, go ahead, interrupt.
Nah, yeah.
Oh, snap. That's funny. Yeah. So in general, what is the entire PPE you wear from top to bottom when you're going into a patient's room, or even that you have on throughout the day?
So you have an N95. That is, I don't have pressure also because melanin rocks, but you, right, it like kind of, you'll see nurses that have like little marks right here because it's very tight. So you have an N95 and then you'll have a surgical mask over it because you don't want to touch the outside of the N95. You know, you don't want to touch that. Then you have a face shield. Then you'll have a gown and booties to cover your shoes. And it's hot under there.
I see that. I see that.
Yeah, definitely not. It's hot. And when you get a COVID patient that's like going down, you're moving so much. So the things might fog up. But that's how I look. You only see like my eyes. If in an N95, you only see my eyes. So it sucks for patients because they don't really know who you are. And they don't see like your smile that might make them feel better. They just see a bunch of eyes coming into the room. So, and even coworkers, like I have to like stare at people for a while. I'm like, oh, that's you. So you really don't know who's who in the N95s.
I see. All right. So before we wrap up, we're going to bring on Brenda from Polanco from The Dot, who's helping us create all this PPE for the people in hospitals in need in Brooklyn. Before we wrap up, does anybody have any other questions for Tati while she's here and can answer any of your questions? Yeah, nut.
That's great.
And Tati, is there anything you want to say to the people while you're here as well?
Hey guys, I see my people's here. Hi. Stay home. That's what I stay home, keep strong. We're gonna make it through.
Cool, I hear you. All right. All right. So let's go to these questions. I'm seeing somebody wrote, can you test, but when you've seen, can you test positive more than once?
I don't think they're testing us more than once. That's the honest truth. I don't think so. I know a lot of people were asking me, are you going to get tested again? And no one's going to test me again. If I tell somebody that I tested positive, they're going to be like, no, because we don't have enough tests. But to my knowledge, unless you're a celebrity, as I said, we've heard them get tested twice, but I don't believe I can get tested twice.
Good. Still going through questions. Another one, Sasha mentioned, did you use any natural remedies for yourself or for your mom?
Yeah, so my niece, who's also named Katiana, who's in here.
Big up to your niece. What's up?
She was giving, my brother was so uncreative, but she was telling me about all these natural health remedies, and I don't get sick often. So she was telling me about elderberry, so I got that. Turmeric, which every West Indian has. I took shots of that. Ginger, I hate ginger, but I was like, gotta fight Rona. Gotta fight the Rona out here, I know. Gotta fight the Rona. So you know what I think helped? Just sitting down, not moving, and just hydrating. I think that's really what helped me. A lot of times when people are sick, they're still moving around or they don't really hydrate. So I drank a lot of Pedialyte, also because I couldn't eat much. I couldn't breathe and eat. For some reason, like breathing took up too much of work. So Pedialyte, rest, and just hydrate myself, yeah.
I see you. And someone just wrote a really interesting one. Are you reading through them as well?
Yeah, I see Danny. Danny's my president.
Go for it. What are they saying? Oh, if you could choose another career. Ooh, if you could choose another career after this pandemic, would you, and what would it be?
No, I wouldn't.
Dag, okay. I dig it.
Not at all. No, I wouldn't. It's scary, but we've gone through scary things in the ER. You know, we're exposed to patients that have TB, exposed to different types of things. I mean, this is definitely ongoing, but I don't think this is out of nursing. I think this just made me it's definitely made me a lot more prouder to be a nurse. And I don't think that it scared me away. I think if it scares someone away, then it didn't really need to be in healthcare.
So I'm in total agreement. My opinion is the same exact way. This is what we train for, you know?
Exactly.
This is the emergency department. This is the emergency room. This is what it is. This is just an extreme of what we already kind of deal with on a daily basis. Yes, the supplies are low. Yes, it's not the most it's not the best situation, and I think we definitely could be supported better by our president. I'm gonna leave that there, and also our local governments a little more. But this is what we came here for, and I appreciate the opportunity to have the knowledge to do it and use it in this fashion.
Yeah, I would have never imagined. I mean, no one would have ever imagined living through this. But now that I have lived through this, we're wiser, we're smarter, and I think we're better. Health, like the providers, all of us, we're better because of this.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tati. I appreciate you. I'm glad we're able to talk and give your knowledge to the world. Any final departing words you want to give to everybody?
Stay safe, guys. Stay safe. Stay safe. Just do what you got to do to be in Zen and stay home, though.
All right. Take care. Take care. Take care. All right, beautiful people. That was Tati Duplessis. As she said, I got to put respect on her name before she comes down here and comes at me. We're going to bring on now Brenda Polanco from The Dot, who has been so generous and kind to help make this PPE material for Brooklyn Hospital. Let's connect Brenda in here now.
Hi.
Can we see you? I hear you, but I don't see you as yet.
Hold on.
Connecting.
Okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to try this again. I'll request you again. Let me try it.
I can hear you. Getting through some technical difficulties. All right, let's try this again.
Can you see me now?
I can hear you.
I don't know what's going on.
All right, we can go from here. So now this is the voice of Brenda Polanco, the CEO of The Dot. Brenda, you mind introducing yourself and kind of... Nope. All right, let's try this one more time. All right.
There we go.
All right. Your camera's on?
Yes, it is. I can see myself and I can see you, but you can't see me, so.
Yeah, I can't see you.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, for those who can hear me, I guess. My name is Brenda. I'm the CEO of The Dot. It's a sourcing company that focuses on helping designers source everything from production to wholesale fabrics. Anything you can think of, we normally can find it. Our goal is normally to work with minority designers. That's our focus. We're based out of Harlem. And that's basically what we do here at The Dot.
Amazing. So what kind of things have you been doing so far to work in the city and during this pandemic?
So during the pandemic, I had to...
She clocked out again. So we're going to bring Brenda back on. I see your comment. Brenda's based in Harlem, just to let you guys know. But we'll try to get Brenda back on to talk about the work she's doing in the meantime. All right, let's add her back to the convo.
I give up on the technical.
It happens all the time. We have it all the time. That's fine. We'll do our best.
So to keep answering the question you had asked me, during the pandemic, because we're a startup, I had to pivot. And I was smart in the sense that the minute the pandemic hit, I just knew we were going to be short on a lot of things where people weren't taking it seriously. I was. So we just started sourcing what was needed for medical supplies. How can we make masks? How can I keep people working? I think that was my biggest concern, was how can we keep a lot of these factories working? So I started coming up with a game plan. Little did I know that it was actually going to come into fruition. I didn't think it would. I was just...
Yeah. Whew. It is back and forth, huh? Thanks for everybody being so patient with this. She'll sign back on. Just to reiterate, we've been working with Brenda and the DOT this entire time to help donate PPE to Brooklyn Hospital. As you see, I pinned the link down there. Thanks, Gab, for adding her website as well. If you guys can donate, this will go, all proceeds will go to support all the workers that are working at the DOT and the materials to make the PPE in the first place. All right, let's connect her again.
I wish you could see my face right now.
Hey, roll with it, roll with it, roll with it. It's okay, it's okay.
So as I was saying, our plan kind of, I wasn't expecting it to go into fruition, but it did. And thank God we were prepared. So we kind of took initiative and we started supplying ourselves with the PPE material necessary and looking for hospitals we can donate the work to. We've been working in conjunction with So Harlem and Harlem Haberdashery in producing gowns and masks for local hospitals. And that's pretty much what we've been doing. That's our main focus. Me, as an entrepreneur, my main goal is to supply jobs. There's a lot of seamstresses that are out of work, and that's my main focus. How can I keep these people working?
Got it. And as a CEO and business owner, how has your life changed? Oh, she finished again. All right. We'll try to get her back in to at least say the final parts as well. I see one of the questions somebody wrote, some of the symptoms of COVID, to wrap that up. Some of the big things I look for as an emergency medicine physician is cough, fever, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. Those are kind of the big ones, and loss of taste or smell. Those are the big symptoms I look for in the hospital, at least. All right, let's bring Brenda back on.
I'm going to make this quick.
It's cool. You just add your piece here. Absolutely.
So we are starting an initiative to help Brooklyn Hospital. Our goal is to raise money so that we can pay our employees and buy the materials needed in order to provide Brooklyn Hospital with gowns and masks, whatever the hospital needs. So please, guys, do your part and donate so that we can do our part and give back to our community.
Excellent. Well said. Thank you so much, Brenda, for coming on to the Stoop, talking a little bit about your company. Everyone check out the .nyc. They're doing amazing work in creating PPE and really help to bolster and support this city.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, guys.
Take care. All right, we're finishing up for now. Thank you all so much for checking in with the Stoop. Please check out the link below at donate on the at STOOP55 IG page. The bio, the link for the actual donation and fundraising page is in the bio. Thanks again. Everyone out there, be safe, be well. Together, we are going much further than apart. I have to look up a good tagline. Let me know if y'all have a good tagline to leave off of. Either way, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll check y'all next week.